to As the Story Grows. I'm Brian Patton. Today we welcome Janine Shilstone from Vukovi to the podcast. Vukovi's Sharptone Records debut, My God Has Got a Gun, is out today. Janine talks about her musical journey that eventually led to Vukovi, how processing therapy led to the emotional themes on My God Has Got a Gun, the unpredictability of the music industry, and more. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of As the Story Grows. If you're brand new to the podcast, welcome. Thanks so much for checking the show out. You can find links in the show notes or over at asthestorygrows.com to our podcast community on Discord, our mailing list, or you can support the show financially and get early access to every episode on Patreon. And if you are brand new or just haven't yet, I would love it if you subscribed to the podcast on your podcast platform of choice. Subscribing, likes, comments, ratings, reviews, whatever, they all help the show grow. And I would love it for more people to discover the awesome bands we feature on this podcast. Enjoy getting to know Janine from Vukovi.
Yeah, so we haven't really done a lot of American press, to be honest, before. No. So this is quite a new thing for us.
That's exciting. Happy to have you on the show. Happy to talk about the album. Been listening to it a lot. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thank you. It's one of those ones when you create something new and then it starts to roll out.
Yeah,
you know that people have to listen to it and judge it and get a feeling for it. So it's quite scary.
Yeah. You create something and you like it and you're proud of it, and then it's out into the world, and then it's no longer yours, and it's like shit. People care.
Exactly. I'm like, do folk even give a fuck anymore? But I'm also, please tell me if I'm talking too fast, because I've got quite a habit of talking very broadly.
You're good. Where in Scotland are you located?
Right now, I live in Glasgow.
Okay.
Yeah. Have you ever been?
No. My wife went to Edinburgh.
Nice.
Before COVID hit. And there was talks that we would move over there for her job, and then COVID, and that didn't happen.
Holy shit! That's a big change.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it would have been huge.
Did she love it? Did she like it?
Oh yeah, she loved it over there. Yeah. But
it's a very magical city. Yeah. I personally prefer Glasgow because it's more real. Not as touristy, and I just think there's something about the music scene in Glasgow and the art in general. I think it's definitely more. I prefer it anyway, but Edinburgh is stunning. Yeah.
Did you grow up kind of close to Glasgow, or? Well,
I actually spent the first, I think it was 5 years of my life in Berlin, in a military accommodation. It was West Berlin, American sort of quarter, American French quarter. It was all round about the Berlin Wall. Sort of. My dad was in the army, so he was posted there. So and then I came to Scotland when I was about 6.
Oh wow!
In a place called Ayrshire, where Hamish lives, where Hamish lives, and that was a culture shock, because I pretty much spoke, half German, half had a very posh English accent, and now I talk like this. My mum's talking slow. Like my mum's actually born and bred in the East End of Glasgow, so she's a pure East Ender. Whereas my dad's side is more upper class. But I'm I'm definitely probably more of my mum's sort of personality and background.
Yeah, that's wild. It's funny to like I've gotten to talk to people from all around the globe and with varying accents and from cultures and backgrounds, and it's fascinating how little that often comes through in vocal performances when you're just listening to the music.
Yeah, what I noticed, especially in America, was people would be coming to our shows. We did our first headline tour, co-headline tour with Calvin Louise in America this year, which was a fucking terrifying experience. never been there in our lives. And we're like, who is going to know who we are? Like, who is actually going to come to our shows? But when I remember the first song we would come out performing and I'd start talking, and like I felt like the crowd were like, what? what are you even saying? Like, where are you from? But I get it. We get it a lot in Europe as well. But it is. I don't sing in a Scottish accent, but I did.
Yeah.
I feel like in this album, there's some motifs in this album where I am talking, as in it's my real accent. That was terrifying to me. That was something that Machine sort of tried to push a bit more, because it's like, we need to get some of the real youth. Obviously, it's all me, but like a bit of that Scottish sort of nod.
Have that side of the personality come out into the music.
Absolutely. It's not. It's trying to get the balance. I don't sing in a Scottish accent, so I wouldn't start changing the way I sing. But it's just shown like another side, I suppose a real part of you feels quite vulnerable, because I sometimes don't like the way I talk. So then it's like, a bit scared to like show the sort of deeper part of me.
Yeah. I understand that. I've done over 400 interviews and I've edited them all, and I'm just like, sometimes I still hear my voice and I'm like, fuck, why do people listen to this?
It's definitely a universal thing, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What got you into music?
I think like I actually used to do, as a kid, I used to do Burns poetry, like Robert Burns recital, and I think I just always loved performing. I loved musical theatre, music, movies, art, like, and but I think like in terms of wanting to be a singer in a band or whatever, I think I think when the Hybrid Theory album came out, and you had Evanescence and bands like that, that's for me. I was like, this is the heavy. I mean, it's the heavier side of things. I was right into pop. Like I was obsessed with pop music, but that for me was like, this feels dangerous. Like this is cool. And without going into too much detail, when I was just before I started, before Vukovi became a thing, I was in London doing I was in the running for an Andrew Lloyd Webber's Wizard of Oz show.
Oh wow!
And I got down to the last 22 girls, I think. And it was a really intense experience, and I really didn't enjoy it. And I think when I was down there, and the way that I felt quite forced to not being who I am. It's like you're being a character. It was. I felt like they were playing the girls off each other, very competitive, but not in a nice way. And I was singing. I had to sing for Andrew Lloyd Webber, and he was like, "You don't want to be here." And I was like, I don't feel I want to be me. I don't think this is for me. And then he was just like, "You're a rock star." And I was like, "See you later, Andrew." Go be a rock star. Just go be you. So That's kind of like then I joined. Then Vukovi became a thing, and the rest is sort of history. It's been a mad time. Like me and Hamish started this band having no experience in the music industry, like no experience being in a band. Really, it was all very like to just finding our way and writing music that we love, and trying to be as genuine and authentic as possible.
Yeah.
So it's been a bit of a ride.
Yeah. You talked about a good like arts and music culture scene in Glasgow. Like, what's the music scene like over there, especially for a band on the heavier side?
Well, I think Glasgow is definitely more of an indie, more indie, I guess. But there's definitely some fucking sick, heavier bands and a very nice, heavy community there. Mm-hmm. But to be fair, most of our fan base I would say, is more England rather than Scotland. But it's I definitely think there's more heavier bands coming through now, though, in Glasgow especially. But it's a very interesting scene. Like, I think when like the more hardcore side of touring bands that come, like there always seems to be a nice rush of people to that. With Glasgow loves their hardcore. So yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, it seems like as the internet and streaming has risen, it's like made everything more accessible to music fans, and people around the world are listening to your band, so why would you not go there, right? Where you might overlook it before because you just didn't know. You think it doesn't matter. I feel like as an artist, you have to juggle this sort of being a business and being an artist, and you have to try and come to a compromise of like also making good business decisions and financial decisions, but it's just so like, I don't know, it's funny that as well. Like, I'd love to actually ask other artists, like, what is your goal here? Like, what is the end goal? Because I think a lot of artists torture themselves because they're chasing something, but they don't quite know what it is or where's the end game here? Yeah.
And again, it's so hard to control the direction that you go in. It feels very daunting. Things are changing all the time. And I guess that's probably what is linked to like the tortured artist thing, or artists being, their mental health fucked because you're just constantly keep going and you've no idea really like how things are going to come out, or it's just, I think it's just trying to stick by us being our true selves and creating music that we are so proud of, and it comes from a real place, and so far that's worked. People seem to connect with it, and I've absolutely love our fan base. It's a credible mix of people from all walks of life, and that's when I feel most alive, obviously being on stage and seeing the energy that our shows bring and the chaos. It's addictive.
A fallen angel once, they make me wanna sin, and every time we sing I can't help but to let them in. I'm so hungry for that unrequited love. That broken child in me won't stop me bleed. I don't wanna feel anymore. Switch me off, there's no encore. I am damned to believe who could love someone like me.
Talk to me about the band name and where did that come from?
So it means wolves in Serbian.
Okay.
We actually, before I joined, the band were called Wolves. So when I came in, they were like, we need to change our name. And I really want to tell you a really interesting story to it. But honestly, it was basically, we just typed in Wolves to Google Translate. And Vukovi was just like, feels kind of mysterious and kind of cool.
Yeah. It's definitely unique. Like,
yeah, it's
and that's hard to accomplish these days.
Oh well, I know that's so true. I don't know what I would call my I don't know what I would call a band now if I've actually had to start again. It's so hard.
How did you guys get connected with Sharptone Records?
We put out Nula through Lab Records, and that was a strange time because it was through, COVID, and we dropped a lot of singles through COVID, and something just seemed to connect. We just got an email basically out the blue. Was like, hi, we love your band. Like, do you want to fucking work with us? Just like this is the thing, how unpredictable everything is. Like the industry is. Like I did not see that coming. And we've been fans of Sharptone for years. Yeah. So it just felt right. There was other offers and options, but they felt like we love their roster, and we just think they're a cool label. And I really love Nathan Barley as the A&R there. He actually came up to Glasgow, and I went for coffee with him. And before anything was signed or we'd agreed on anything, but it was just really nice to have a sit down and someone that really cares and knows his shit and also doesn't bullshit you. He's very realistic and direct, and I like that about people. I like that in a person. So it just it's all been very fast and very crazy. And a lot of change. And I guess you're constantly adapting and evolving as a person as well as an artist. And sometimes you can get very locked in and forget to take a step back sometimes. Yeah, I don't have any complaints in regards to Sharptone. I think they're a fantastic label.
New record's called My God Has Got a Gun. Talk to me about kind of the lyrical and thematic inspirations for this album.
So when we were writing this album, I was going through some quite intense therapy that I'd never really did to that extent before. I got 12 sessions, and after each session I would go and paint. I would go home and paint. A way for me to sort of process things rather than sitting. I don't know. I think sometimes when you don't really have the words to express how you feel, like I just sort of turned to painting. So that was the inspiration behind the artwork of the album, is the paintings. Okay. And I guess the whole album itself it's sort of like a rebirth of, really facing, like getting to the point where you're like, I need to face my shit. And I need to, sort of at least try and make my life a bit easier in my head by addressing some things. And this album, to me, I think it's got a lot of mixed emotions, because it was the way I was in my state of mind at the time. Was I thought I was going crazy, and you're reliving all these things, but at the same time you're becoming self-aware of it, and you know that you can be happy and you deserve love. And I think there's also a sort of elements of, misogyny or politics, and it was I think this is the thing with this record, like it really did come from a lot of like a place of pain, but also healing. Yeah. It's kind of a double-edged sword, because when you do want to face your demons and start to address it, like you are going through it again, but you're also healing at the same time. Yeah. But then you think, like, I think I'm going crazy. Like, I think this is making me worse.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. But and the sort of, like, there's a very like light concept of there's some like the voice recordings, and there's a bonus track on the vinyl as well, and it kind of hints at an event that happened. It's like an exorcism and that sort of releasing that darkness in you, it's finally forgiving it and letting it go, and realizing that you don't need to carry this around with you every day. So that the idea was this, it was like a bit of this really horrific sort of, I'm saying exorcism or rebirth, or something's like slithering out of you and you're just sort of getting rid of it and you're making peace with it. And that's why some of the tapes, the recordings, it's sort of witness accounts of this event that they had witnessed, this person sort of bursting something out of their chest, and it's free.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those ones as well, when it all started to come together with the artwork and the sort of like light themes, we were just like, is this this is what we want to do? Like, it's not like we didn't go out and go, oh, let's do it like this, or let's do something like that. Like, we were just like, this is what we love. This means something to us. It has a bit of relevance to who we are as people. And we're just sort of having faith that it's going to connect with people.
Yeah.
But we're so proud of it, and doing it with Machine as well. We wanted to get out of our comfort zone and try something new, and we're big fans of him. We wanted to try and capture more of the live sound, because our shows are very heavy, very loud, very raucous and chaotic, and we wanted to try and put that across in the record as much as possible. It's really funny to talk about it now, because we've not done a lot of interviews yet. So actually, like, just talking about it out loud, it's like, holy shit, like, that's been a journey.
Yeah.
That's been something else. But yeah, I guess it goes back to when, like, even talking about that to you, like, I feel very, like, exposed right now, but also, like, I'm in a band. Like, that's our job at the same time. But I suppose when you are sort of shown that pure vulnerability side and unashamedly speaking your truth and how you've dealt with healing and therapy and trauma, and it's just sort of just seeing if it does connect with people.
Yeah.
Which I feel like every album that we released so far, before it releases, like, I always get that phase, I'm like, maybe folk just don't care anymore, but I've been so surprised so many times that it's trying to just not overthink it, to be honest. And being honest about, like, everyone has their insecurities and everyone has their moments and their worries. Like, it doesn't, like, maybe people think that you're in a band or that's doing really well, or looks like she's got her shit together, and it's like, no one has their shit together. No. Like, really, like, I struggle with social media. I actually struggle with publicity and too much attention, or I'm quite private. So, and it's like battling with that, I guess, as well.
Yeah. Which is, it's tough because you have these music videos and you're in costume and makeup.
Oh, well, it's an alter ego, so, like, it's a
right.
Yeah, like there's one of the characters in the paintings. She's called Snow, SNO, and this is like this alter ego. This, it's the survivor, the animal part of you. When you go into, like, survival mode, and you have this, there's just something inside you that's wanting to fight. And this is, like, my version of her is that version of me. It's this unashamedly survivor, and someone that is more animalistic and primal, because they're the constant state of survival mode. And I like to toy with that in the videos, with the costuming and because I like wearing trackies and no washing my hair and not wearing makeup, but it's nice to have, like, that time to, like, bring out Snow, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Hamish was meant to be on the call, but he's actually in my spare room just now editing our latest video.
Okay. Awesome.
That we shot 2 days ago.
Wow.
So it was an 18-hour day, pretty ambiguous idea. So we'll see. So yeah, we're just sort of we're working through that.
Nice.
But we've turned up the theatrics with the hair and the makeup and everything's pretty dramatic. Like why not?
Yeah.
We need a bit of theatre in our lives.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that element is so important to the music industry these days. Like it's as much as it was in, the peak Linkin Park, Britney Spears era, the music video is just as important now. Like that's how people are discovering your band, right?
Yeah. It's so hard because you have different people have different opinions of that. So you have people that have been that music videos aren't that important. They are to us because it's always been a thing that we've expressed as visuals as well. And again, that's just part of how we express ourselves.
Yeah.
But it's definitely this sort of run of videos, like we're trying to step up the standard and trying to, I guess I can be quite what's the word? ambitious with ideas, and but we've got a great team around us of creative people and friends of ours who we love working with, and it's actually been a joy to be creative with some of your best friends. And it's but again, it's like when we do things, like when we are doing videos and we'll put our heads down and we'll get on with it. Like we try not to compare ourselves to people too much or other bands. I think that can sometimes be the death of you.
Yeah.
When you just over compare and think, oh, they're not doing as well as them, or like, oh, that worked for them, it doesn't work for us, or oh, they're doing that sort of style of visuals, should we be doing that? It's like really try and just put our heads down and focus on what we want to achieve and just hope for the best.
Yeah. And so much of what makes something popular or work is just luck. Like 10 bands could do the same thing. One of them's going to succeed. And honestly, who fucking knows?
It's like a lottery.
Yeah.
Literally like a lottery. So I'm like, I think that's why it's like, listen, we just do what we do.
Yeah.
And we've always done what we've done. We've always done what we've wanted to do. We've always kept growing quite consistently. And, it's at the end of the day, it's like you only live once. And I also want to enjoy this at the same time, but also enjoy my life as well and having that balance. And I think no matter what happens, as we can honestly say we've been genuine and true to ourselves, and so appreciative of the fan base that we've built up and the communities of people that are coming together at our shows, and diverse communities that are making friends, and it's pretty special. But I think when I think about it too much, I just spiral a wee bit because I'm like, oh my God, how did we do this?
Yeah. Album's out January 24th. Then in February, you guys go on tour through Europe with People, incredible label mates of yours. Yeah. What is that? Just all that's on your calendar? Just like release the album, do that tour, and then see what comes your way? Or are you starting to work on what the rest of the year might look like?
We have some quite nice festivals booked, and we are planning on doing a sort of B-market tour as well at the end of the year in the UK. There was chat about going back to America, and we would like to possibly release a song with another artist that we want to work with for a while. So I actually was chatting about that today. So I hope that happens. We're hopefully gonna make that happen. Yeah, and it's sort of, again, it's such an unpredictable industry. Like it's one day you can be thinking you're failing, and the next day you get offered a massive arena tour. Like it's just so like, what the fuck,
right?
So it's I'm really excited for next year. I'm really excited for the tour. I'm excited to play these songs live, and then come the tail end of next year, the album's going to be circulating. People will be more connected to it, and they've had time to digest it because it's quite an intense album.
Yeah.
It's. I don't know if this is really delusional, but like I try and live every day. Like I try and do a day at a time. I'm not saying like don't think about the future, because you have to plan, obviously. But I'm trying not to think too far ahead, because I do spiral. I suffer from really bad anxiety, and like a lot of people and a lot of artists, we both do. So yeah, it's trying to like manage our own mental health as well, and the expectation, our own expectations, and so, but I'm really excited.